Hi friends, my name is Kayla Rayne, and today I'm doing my December wrap-up. So in the month of December, I read a total of 6 books, and although it was probably my most unproductive reading month quantity-wise, I think it was my most productive reading month quality-wise. So I'll just go ahead and jump right in, and these are no particular order as to how I read them, they're just how I have them stacked in front of me to grab to talk about. So first off, I have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. This was a reread for me, and I'm not really going to talk too much about what this book is about because I feel like everyone knows what this book is about. But there were 2 Harry Potter readathons that happened in the month of December. I failed miserably at them, but I did pick this one up at the beginning of the month, and while this was a reread for me, this is the first time I've read the Philosopher's Stone, so while the plot and the characters are all the same, the spelling of some of the words and some of the phrases that they use are different than what we use here in the United States, so that made it really interesting and kind of made it refreshing and new to read this. So it's just a nice different take on the series that didn't really take away from the plot or the characters or anything like that. And of course, no surprises here, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I had the pleasure of reading this beautiful edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is a UK edition, and this is the book that my fiance proposed with. Yes, I had a book proposal, and it was super exciting, and this is the reason that I failed at reading this month. I have so many emotional attachments to this book because, number one, this is my favorite Harry Potter book out of the entire series. This is the first Harry Potter book I ever read, not this particular edition. And this was also like my proposal book, so I was overwhelmed with like emotional feel-goods from reading this book, so I honestly let this kind of linger throughout the entire month of December, and I took so long to read this book because I just found myself rereading certain passages and just really soaking it in and just really enjoying this reread. And for me, that's what rereads are about, it's to really soak in that world again that we already know so well, and we know what's going to happen. There aren't going to be surprises, so we just kind of soak in everything that's happening, really read over everything, mull over it in our minds. So I took forever to read this one, and I don't regret it. And of course, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I picked up Days of Blood and Starlight by Lani. This is a sequel to Daughter of Smoke and Bone and the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. And again, can't say too much about the plot because spoilers, it's a sequel. But I will say that the pacing in this book was a little bit slower. However, Lani does such a fantastic job with world building that it was never dull, and I found myself really wanting to know more about the world. Even though there wasn't a lot of action, I still found this very interesting. I really liked it, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Dreams of Gods and Monsters, which is the conclusion to the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I can't really say anything about it because spoilers, but I will say that this was kind of my least favorite out of all the books because up to like the 80% mark, the book had finished. The storyline that had been building up in the first and second book came to a conclusion at about the 80% mark, and like the last 20% of the book was just this other storyline that was kind of added in and kind of rushed to wrap everything up, and it honestly felt like it was supposed to be a setup for another book, but there isn't another book, that's the conclusion. So I don't know if Lani was kind of planning on writing another series that followed that storyline, or she was just kind of tying in some other things, because there were some things that tied in with the original story, but then it also felt very displaced and kind of rushed. So I still gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because it was a really satisfying conclusion, but I'm not really sure why that second ending was there. I also got to Out of My Mind by Sharon and Draper, and this is a middle grade novel that follows the main character Melody, who has cerebral palsy. She's in a wheelchair and she can't speak, and this follows her in her 5th grade year and just kind of her triumphs and her failures and her trying to navigate through her 5th grade world and try to communicate with other people who don't necessarily understand how to communicate with her in the best way. And this book was really interesting, I really liked it, and I really enjoyed that the main character Melody was a very well developed character and that there were more aspects to her than just her disability. So it wasn't this really terribly written trope of a character, she was a really well put together human being character, and I appreciated that, and I thought that Sharon and Draper did a really good job about talking about some of the things that people with disabilities have to put up with as far as education goes and just being able to have equal opportunity to other students. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and if you're interested in seeing my non-spoiler book review, I will definitely leave that in the down bar below. And finally, I picked up Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood, and this was a recommendation by Trina over from Between Chapters, and I buddy read this with Caitlin from Book Chats, and let me tell you guys, this book is so good. This is the first book in a trilogy of the Cahill Witch Chronicles, I believe it is, but it follows the main character, Kate, and she is in a society that is very much led by men and religion, and being a witch is a very bad thing. So Kate has 1 strike against her, and oh wait, she's also a woman. 2 strikes, and she's also a woman who has thoughts and wants education and wants to have free will. So 3 strikes, Kate is in some trouble, and her main goal in the entire book is to keep her head down and also protect her 2 younger sisters who are also witches in this society that demonizes being a witch, and you could get into a lot of trouble and either be sent to an insane asylum or be sent to a prison camp essentially because you are a horrible, terrible person. There were quite a few YA tropes in this book, but they were all done really, really well. For example, Kate is very worried about her power and she thinks that she is kind of evil for it, so it's kind of that, oh no, I'm a monster type trope. And then there's also a love triangle in here, and while I think that it wasn't completely necessary, it has been one of my favorite love triangles that have been written because it felt very genuine. It wasn't just put in there for added drama, not some random plot device to try to make the book more interesting. The love interests were actually genuinely written, and I felt like it was all done very, very well. So while I usually hate a love triangle, it was done really well in here. That's really all I want to say about the book because I don't want to give too much away, because it is like this really great kind of mysterious book that unfolds along the way. I enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay guys, that has been it for today's video. Let me know what one of your favorite books in the month of December was, and let me know what your total reading count at the end of the year was. I ended up reading 114 things. I say things because some of them were comic books and graphic novels, but I mean, they kind of technically count as books because comic book and graphic novel. So yeah, 114 things. I'm pretty excited about that. I had a really great reading year. There were very few things that I read that I didn't enjoy, and I'm very much looking forward to a fantastic reading year in 2016. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay weird.